So I think the most important thing is that the most important thing would be when we don't know exactly what we're talking. So good day everyone, and today we are here again for another session just about anything about data science. But of course today we're going to have a certain topic, and that is all about the top 5 common mistakes of data science beginners. So this is the topic that I believe you and I really have to take note of. It's because if we are not going to be mindful of these things, then what will happen would be that we will fall into a pit, and that pit is actually very dangerous. It's because most often we would not be able to get out of it, and that is why learning from the mistakes of other people would be very helpful if you would like to really move forward that fast in your data science career. And learning from other people's mistakes would be actually a great advantage. It's because it uh, it actually makes your journey more meaningful, more significant, and of course, there are a lot of things that you can save. You can save your time, you can save your resources, of course, and you can save your resources, your money. Okay, so and the most important thing would be that it would be easier for you and faster for you to get hold of the many opportunities in data science. Okay, so right, so the problem can be that there could be a lot of you who are now in the process of understanding of what you really would like to do in your life just with respect to the data science things. It's because you still don't know what you're going to do. It's because first and foremost you don't know where to begin, you don't know how to begin, you don't know the different things that you have to think of when we are talking about data science, right? So that's actually a very challenging thing that you are facing when you don't know what you're going to do, right? So a lot of people would actually just continue, they would just do whatever they think in data science without knowing that there are a lot of things that they have to remember first and foremost before doing the different steps. Or if it's not actually the different steps, it would be the different things to consider when taking steps in data science. So if you have a lot of questions, if you do have questions, just type your questions here so we could just discuss. And I think it would be very rich or very meaningful if you and I can learn from each other. Okay, so you can just chat there, and I'm going to read and I'm going to answer whatever it is that you would like to learn. So today is a very good day. It's because it would be, or it is another day for us to just think of no rules, no technical stuffs about data science, just all about how we can make our data science journey more meaningful and more enjoyable. and more fruitful, right? So don't forget to just write your comments, your questions there. Okay. So, so all right. How's your day? I believe you have been doing great things for the past few days in the last week. So life has been so meaningful, shall I say? If it's not meaningful, it's really very challenging. It's because you've learned a lot in the past few days, not because everything really went well, but it's because everything was really doing good for the better, right? Even if we could say that you did something wrong because it's a mistake, but then again, things really worked for the better. Okay, so again, what we are going to talk about today is that we are going to know the top five mistakes, common mistakes of data science beginners. So if you know these five mistakes, it would be easier for you to just navigate your way in your data science career. Okay? So, okay, right. So a lot of people would just go on their way without first knowing what the things that they have to consider if they are to make the best of their steps, each step in their data science journey. Okay, so and these are the things that we're going to talk about today. So I believe that you and I have experienced or have done all of these things, if not just some of them. So they said that experience is the best teacher, but I don't agree. It should be an evaluated experience is our best teacher. So we can never learn from our experience if we fail to evaluate the things that we've done, the mistakes that we've committed, and even the learnings, the successes that we've enjoyed along the way. So if all of these things are evaluated, then we can be a better person, a better version of who we are, right? So that's why I think tonight or today is the best thing to share with each other what are these things that we have to learn, that we have to take note of if we are learning data science as a beginners, right? Okay. So if you have some questions, if you do have questions, just write your questions there and then we will talk about it. But I believe this is going to be very exciting. It's because we can save our time, we can save our energy, we can save our resources so that we would be able to focus on things that really matter. Okay, so there are things that we do and that we think these things are really very good, but then the problem is that these things are not actually the best things to consider or even the proper things to consider when we are talking about our data science journey. So a lot of times we would really commit mistakes, we would fall, we would fail. Um, but the good thing is that we can really learn a lot of things from our mistakes. Okay, so we will just have the top five mistakes, and in each mistake, actually, there are a lot of, should I say, small mistakes that surround it. But these are the major mistakes that most likely we can commit if we are just data science beginners. And this usually happens when you don't have someone else who will talk to you, who will guide you, who will mentor you, what to do along the way. And especially when you are from a different background in different background. You see, for example, when you are, for example, from a literature background like me, for example, then it would be very challenging for you to jump into data science So it would be a big leap of faith. I call that. I always call that a big leap of faith. Okay, so that is always the challenge of people who came from different backgrounds, right? So in my previous lesson, I talked about how you would be able to learn data science faster. And that's why you would have, or you would, or you should avoid the different things. Okay, so I had that yesterday in my video. Okay, so just type where you are from. So which country are you from? Okay, so the first, I think we're ready. So the first mistake of a data science beginner is that he or she focuses on too much theory. Again, let me repeat that because that is actually really very important. A data science beginner focuses too much on theories. And this is really the very common mistake of data science beginners, especially those who came from different backgrounds that are really very different from data science, or those people who don't have at least mathematics background or programming background. So it would be very challenging for them. A very big challenge for them is to cope with the different things to do in and doing data science things. So that is why um, the tendency would be that most people would focus on theories. I'm actually very much guilty of this because during the time when I was starting with my data science career, I I dived or yeah, I dived too much, or I focused on theories too much. So in as much as possible, I would like to learn everything, every theory, every piece of it. So it was really very academic. It was just like I was in school, listening to a teacher, in a discussion. I had my books, I had my stuff, just like I was really a student who is studying in a university, and learning those theories are actually good. They are actually very good, right? But then, because we are not in a university, we are not enrolling in a 4-year course. We don't have the luxury of time. We don't have that. Let me take off my eyeglasses. So we don't have the luxury of time. Okay? So we should learn data science the best way possible and in the shortest time possible. Okay? So we don't have the luxury of time. So focusing too much on theories would leave you nothing to do at the end of the day. Okay? So again, let me repeat that. Just focusing on too much theories will just leave you nothing at the end of the day. Why? It's because theories without applications are just ideas. So when these ideas are not put into practice, then they would just be concepts. They would just be theories. So data science is actually more on of applications, and learning a theory is not actually enough, but this theory must be applied. So don't concentrate too much on theories. It should be 50-50. So you do your theories, then apply the theory that you've learned. Okay? So I still could remember the time when I was really learning statistics. I learned statistics, I learned linear algebra, I learned even calculus because my background was really very different. I came from a very different background. My university course was too far from mathematics or from programming. So I really had to double time. But the problem was that I focused too much on theories. That was really a problem because at the end of the day, I found out that I was not doing any data science stuffs. It seemed like I was enrolling in a university as an undergraduate student. So I did that for more than a year, I think. Let me count. Yeah, it was more than a year. It was 1 year, I think, and 3 months. So I've wasted a lot of times. It's because there were actually a lot of those theories which are not that much related to data science things. So I should have picked which theories that are really very important when we talk about data science. But the problem was that I did not do that. Okay? So of course I could not blame myself because during the time no one was with me who would guide me, who would taught me what to do along the process and along the way. So it was really very difficult. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I mean, 3 years ago, data science was not that very famous here in the Philippines. It was not really very mainstream. It was a big word actually, but not a lot of people would have an expertise with the subject matter. So it was really a big problem. And even with the resources on the internet, it was also very not so common to find those resources on the internet and even on YouTube. There were actually a lot, but then the problem was that it was not really in line with my needs. So I mentioned before that when you just rely on the things you could see on the internet, on the path roadmap, learning roadmap, or learning path, sometimes, and in most cases, it does not meet your needs. So they are tailored for people who have already the background, but the question was that what about for people who came from different backgrounds? What would they do? So that really happened to me. Okay, so again, number one, don't focus too much on theories. You have to proceed. So my suggestion is that after learning a theory, you have to apply it. Okay, so for example, after learning how to do the descriptive or exploratory, which is the first part, exploratory analysis, then I guess you have to apply your knowledge by using that to explore a certain data. So apply that. Don't just do the concepts. Don't just do the table. Don't just make the visualizations, but apply that. Okay? So this is how you do it. This is how you're going to apply this certain kind of evaluation. So for example, when you have known that, or when you've learned that, you should be able to understand how you're going to apply, shall we say, correlation, then that is just knowledge. You know what correlation is. You know the meaning of -1 to 1 because that is actually the range of your correlation. What's the meaning of -1? What's the meaning of +1? So this is the theory. What about if you're going to apply that in the real world, in using real data? Then what would be? Okay? So don't focus too much on theories. So again, my suggestion is that when you already know the theory, apply that. Okay, apply that. Apply that. Okay? Next is that number two. Our number, where is it? Okay, our number two common mistake is that we do not, or we lack focus on, focus on what to prioritize. Okay, anyway, just type where you are from. Hello, Cambodia, I think. Where are you from? Where are so welcome to my discussion. So if you have questions, just don't forget to just type that on our chat box, and then we would be able to discuss that along the way. Okay. So don't forget. And also, please introduce yourself, where you are from, and hi, you are from India. Thank you so much for watching. And I have actually lots of viewers from India. Indians are really very good when it comes to technology stuffs. When it comes to information technology, when it comes to data science, I have read lots of Indian authors about data science, and it's really very good. Very good. Hello, Hardik. Hello, Hardik. Um, Nice meeting you here, and thank you for watching. So if you have questions, just type your question on our chat box, then we could discuss that. Okay. So we are now in our number two, and again, our number two is that our common mistake is that we lack focus on what to prioritize. Okay. We don't exactly know what is the first thing to do, the second thing to do, and then the third thing to do, and then the so on and so forth. So I have discussed this one in my um, lesson yesterday. I discussed about how you're going to make your learning path your own, because there are a lot of things you could see on the internet. If you're just going to ask Google, there's just in a flick of millisecond, it gives you lots of answers as to what is the best learning path to follow when you are studying or when you're learning about data science. Okay, so but then as what I've said, the problem is that you don't know that the biggest answer to your learning path is yourself. Mind you, we are not in a university. Okay, so again, we are not in our university wherein we have this very formal education, because even up to now, there is not a lot of universities who offer data science as really a formal school. Even here in the Philippines, there are just very few. I think it's one, I think two. Of course, there are just schools like AIM, for example, that offers this kind. Yeah. Thank you so much, Cambodge. Yeah. So you have to really have a practical implementation. So, oh, anyway, before we go back, before we continue with our number two, I have first to on my add to my point in number one that so after your application of a certain shall we say idea or concept, so if you have not yet mastered that certain idea, you first have to deal into that at least for quite a while, and then when you already mastered that, I think it would be the best time for it to proceed to the next. Okay, so our goal here is not actually the quantity of ideas that we memorize in our brain, but it's how much we have mastered. So it's actually quality over quantity. Always be mindful, okay? So slow is fast. Slow is fast. Don't get everything too rush, because the moment when you are just too rush, the tendency is that nothing is left in your brain. So master first a certain idea, and when your mastery is substantial, then it would be the time for you to proceed to the next. Okay, just take your time. Take your time. And I've been telling you about this one. You don't need to compare yourself with your friends who is more advanced in data science knowledge in comparison to yours. So just always look at yourself. Just compete with yourself. It's good to compete with other people, but the problem would be that if you compare with yourself with him, who is more advanced in technical knowledge, you would find yourself so small. So um, instead, you can just make him as your mentor. Just be a very good person, a very good person who strategizes everything so well, right? So let's go now. Let's go on with our number two. So again, our number two is that we have this lack of focus on what to prioritize. Okay, so the most important thing about this mistake number two is that we don't exactly know what we need. And the moment when we don't exactly know what we need is that everything is really distorted. So when I say distorted, it is broken. Our ideas would be broken, our line of thoughts would be broken, and the the result would be that we don't know what's going to do next. So, just like what I've said in our lesson yesterday, I post that in data science tips uh, series. So, my my very serious suggestion for you is that you really have to make a checklist. So you have to list the different skills that are needed for you to do or to learn data science. Then you check that, right? Then, if you've already at least mastered, or if not really having mastered that, you're going or you have substantial knowledge of a certain skill. I think it's not uh, the time for you to focus on that kind of skill. So it's time for you to proceed to the next one. But of course, after proceeding to the next one, you're not going to forget the skills that you have already learned. And the thing that you're going to do is that you're going to incorporate the new skill that you've learned with the the, the skills that you have already learned. So data science is not actually just composed of only one or two skills. So if you really would like to have um, an edge in data science, then what you have to do is that you really have to incorporate lots of skills in one project, for example. Okay, so your skills in data visualizations, your skill, of course, in programming, your skills in theories in mathematics. So all of these things must come together. So when you have these things, then it's going to be an edge. So don't forget to always put first things first. All right. So then the next common mistake is that doing coding of too many algorithms. Again, doing coding of too many algorithms. Okay, so I think this is actually very common for a lot of us if we are just starting. That this is the main reason why we just keep on buying and buying courses from different um, learning data science course providers. Okay, it's because we just would like to learn and learn coding and learn coding and coding of so many algorithms. Okay, don't just learn how to code. Okay, but you have to learn how to apply. So this just go back on our number two, that you have to know your priorities. Okay? So data science is not just again data science is not just all about coding. Again, data science is not all about coding because data science is actually decision making. So don't code too much algorithms. Be sure that when you code another algorithm, you have already mastered one for you to be able to proceed to the next. All right. So again, it's not actually just a matter of sure. Okay, so it's just actually a matter of understanding how these algorithms really work for different situations. Okay? But the most important thing is that you first have to know how each of these algorithms can be applied. Okay? So, our point number three, the third, or sorry, the fourth common mistake of data science beginners is that they lack domain knowledge. So when I say domain, it has something to do with a certain field. Say, for example, when you are in business, business, for example, business is a field. What else? Um, Petroleum industry, for example. Then we also have computer vision. Okay, so these are just some of the examples of the domain that you have to deal into. So having a domain knowledge is very important. It's because you can just easily think of different ways how to solve problems, how you're going to connect certain results of your data science investigations or data science project to the present, to what is really happening in the present, so that you could just connect the dots. You connect the dots of today and then of those things that you've studied. Okay, and also having a domain knowledge is very important when you have this discussion. Okay, so data science is not just about coding, it's about decision making, it's about relating to other people, relating uh, to your bosses, to the different departments in your organizations, the results of your investigations. Then you have to, when you have already come up with this kind of decision, how are you going to go back to your data science projects, to your coding, for example, to your implementations, and make an adjustment? Okay, so domain knowledge is really very important for you to be able to. Hello, I'm okay. You are from Italy, Disalin. I don't know if I pronounce your name correctly. It's Habtamu Desalin, but thank you for watching. Um, so having a domain knowledge is actually very important for you to be able to um, uh, what do you call this one? It's standing on your ground, defending. Defending why your resolution, why your suggestion should be followed. Okay, so when you're backed up with certain data, then the best thing that you're going to do now is that you're going to share that with the people in your company, and you have to stand firm with your you have to stand firm with the reasons which are backed up by your data. So here, domain knowledge is really very important. Okay, then the last one, the last before we oh, thank you. So the last one before we have our questions and answers, um, the common mistake of data science beginner is that they dive they dive deep into the most complicated data science things. Say, for example, advanced robotics, self-driving cars, then we have computer vision. So if you are a beginner, I don't suggest that these things you would do when you are just learning your data science stuffs. Okay? So these are the things that you can just do later when you are already done with the basics. So having the foundations in data science is really very helpful for you to be able to do lot of data science things, more advanced data science projects. So you can just um, leave all of these things later when you have already mastered the basics of data science. Okay, so I am also guilty of this. During the first few months of learning data science, I was so tempted to do the to do these advanced robotics things, only to realize that at the end of the day, I really got failed because I didn't have that enough technical knowledge, technical know-how, and even domain knowledge on how to do these advanced robotics things. So when I realized that I was not really learning, in fact, I was hurting myself because I really did not sleep. I just focused too much on learning robotics things. So what I did was that I just went back to the basic. So having the basics is very important for you to move on. Okay? So let me repeat these 5 common mistakes of data science beginners. So we have number 1, focusing too much on theories. Number 2, lacking focus on what to prioritize. That is number 2. And our number 3 is that coding too many data science algorithms. And number 4, lacking of domain knowledge. Lacking of domain knowledge. And lastly, we have number 5, um, doing the more complicated data science projects. So these are the things that I have found out. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think so. For the last one, we need to have some master's degree program in university. Yeah, that's a really a very good point. But it is actually very tempting for someone who is really a beginner to learn all of these stuffs. Like me, it's just what I have said. I was really tempted to do the advanced robotics things, even if I did not have that enough knowledge about data science stuff, so I really got failed. So again, what I did was that I went back to the basic. Okay, so what I've learned when you really have a lot of mistakes, when something is not really going on well, the best thing to do is that you have to go back to the basic. Okay, so sometimes the difficult problem in data science can just be solved by understanding the basic concepts. So that's why we really have to go back to the basics. Okay, so now if you have some questions, you can just type in there. And it would be, if you would like to share your ideas, that is also very welcome. Okay, so I'm waiting for your. Okay, so sir, these words are filled with wisdom, my first question is that can you recommend some books for getting to know the data better, like not on but data, okay, data in general. So as to the books, if so you mean maybe you just would like to know the basic concepts, not really the machine learning algorithm, but just the data in general. So I'm going to I'm going to examine, not really examine, I'm going to search a book. I'm going to check, I mean, I'm going to check my library, and if I could find that book, you just comment in any of my videos about that book. Then I'm going to just um, uh, answer you back about this certain book. Yeah, I think I have, but I'm not so sure. But I'm just going to have it. I'm going to search for one. Yeah, Deval, yeah. Studying math actually is really very important, and that is the first thing that I did. In fact, in my videos, most of my videos are actually talking about. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. No problem. I am happy sharing my thoughts. So, going back to the mathematics behind the data science or the different algorithms, yeah, it's actually very important to understand the different mathematics behind it. So, and I believe if sure Cambodge, no problem. And I believe having this that deeper understanding of the mathematics behind the different algorithms would really give you an edge over other data scientists or machine learning practitioners or even deep learning practitioners, because this will give you the deeper understanding and analysis of what's really going on behind the data or behind the different algorithms. And because of that, it would be easier for you to just maneuver um, or negotiate with the different, uh, shall we say, the trade-offs of the different algorithms. So having the mathematics behind each algorithm is actually very important, and that is what actually I am doing. So I'm discussing more on the mathematics sides of the data science. So in as much as possible, I don't touch much on the coding part of the data science. Okay, because I believe having this understanding of mathematics of data science would really give you an edge, especially if you are conducting research. Then this mathematics of data science would be very helpful very helpful for understanding what's going on in your project, what's going on in your experiment, what's going on in your investigations. So it's really very important. Yeah. But of course, when you are just beginning, you have to do it slowly. You have to understand which one would really come first. Okay. I think you would just have to start with the basic, do with linear regression, logistic regressions. So these are just the basic things in data science, in or even machine learning, or even in data analytics. So I mean, just for the sake of um, having knowledge for just for a job application, for example, then you can just have these things. But of course, never stop from improving yourself. Never stop from upskilling yourself too. Okay, I think that's the most important thing. As a data scientist, never ever stop from learning, because the world is evolving. The data science concepts are evolving too. The different algorithms are also evolving. So it's always the best thing to upgrade ourselves, because again, the world is changing. It's never constant. Python is very slow. While will Python replace other languages like Julia? I still cannot answer that much or that question very directly if that would be replaced. Hopefully, Maybe, possibly, that would be done in the future. Who knows? Okay. So, but I think also the people behind this programming language, Python, are also doing their part to make this language, this programming a little bit faster. I have seen that in data science projects, data cleaning, data processing takes the majority of time, but most of the courses only teach the machine learning algorithms. Yes, yes, I agree with you, Kambuj. I really agree with you. 100% I agree with you. Yes. So this data science, data cleaning, data processing are really very important because they prepare our data. So without them, we can never have a very good algorithm to run. So I think it has something to do with marketing. But I think for you, on your part too, Kamboj, I don't know if I pronounce your name properly. It's because you have already identified that this kind of thing is not really offered that much. So this is the kind of thing that you're going to focus on if you are not yet familiar with data cleaning and data pre-processing. All right. How can one learn the data cleaning pre-processing part, which is very important in the real world problems? With regard to that question, there are two things that we have to always put in our mind, in our brain. Of course, the first thing is that you really have to study, and studying really needs, of course, reading. It needs reading. And then once you have that concept, have that process in your brain, then at times it is the time for you to implement that. How are you going to do that in the real world situations? Okay, so um, it always boils down to yourself, what you do. How do you practice yourself to master this kind of skill, to master this kind of things in data science? Okay, so more questions? Yeah. So it's actually very important to master the pre-processing, the cleaning part of the data science. So I think this is the most important things to do too, along with the different algorithms. I am experienced in software development plus SQL, and currently I am finalizing my university courses related to AI. What will I do for my first job or in the data science career? What will I do for my first job? I don't know what would that job would be, but I think when your company tells you that you're going to do this, just for example, okay, this is just a hypothetical, right? So my discussion is just hypothetical with this question because this question really asks for or demands for a hypothetical answer. And my answer to that would be when you have this kind of knowledge as to the different applications of AI, then it would be the best thing to talk to your boss, for example, as to what to do with a certain project, for example. So give an example. So I would give my an example based on my experience because I cannot give an example when I have not experienced that. Okay, say for example when as in a certain business, for example. So yeah, okay, you have a formal education, it's very good. So in a certain business, for example, and the case is that how are we going to um, increase our sales, right? Again, the business question is that how are we going to increase our business sales? So with respect to this question, it's not actually uh, good to just uh, understand the trend of your sales, the amount of money that flows into the company. So the most important thing that we are going to understand is that how our customers behave. What's the behavioral pattern of our clients. So with this case, so we need data that would help us understand the customer behavior. So it could be the different comments on Facebook, for example. So it could be coming from the different surveys. So we have to understand the sentiments of our customers. So I may want to do the sentiment analysis. Okay, so that is just one example. Or also, I could also do the hypothesis testing. I could also do the understanding of the packaging of our product, for example. So I would study how would the packaging would affect the customer sentiments. It could be one. Okay. So this is just an example. That's good if you have a formal education. Okay. So so this is why having a domain knowledge is really very important. Sometimes when you talk to your boss, you really have to defend why your idea is is a must to follow. Thanks for this live session. It really helps for someone like me. Thanks. Namaste. Namaste. So I do this every Sunday during this time. And I don't know what time would that be in your country, but here in the Philippines it is 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the evening. Every Sunday we do just this informal discussion on data science. Not the hardcore one because I do that from Monday to Friday. So during weekends or on weekends I do this very informal live session. So this is the best time for me to just talk to you, to talk with you guys. The things that we really have to know, that we really have to understand in data science. So we could make our journey challenging and more exciting, and also we can help one another. Okay, so anything else? If you have some questions, just don't forget to just type there in our chat, and then we can discuss that. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Desalin. Thank you so much for your appreciation. So yeah, I really admire your comments. I really appreciate your comments, guys. It's because I also learn from your comments. So it's a two-way process. Good questions. I'm also learning a lot. So thank you so much for watching, and next week, see you. And we will continue with our discussions on data science, just a data talk about data science. And see you guys. If you have no more questions, then thank you so much for watching. Thank you. See you next week.